So, when you come to the party late, it really depends on what you're bringing to it. Like, okay, I know this story's been hashed out, and I know the young woman who was in it is probably in a world of hell, really. But I feel like there's another angle that I need to cover on this, and I am, of course, talking about the woman who slept with 100 men in a single day. I go back to 1993, and you have the movie Indecent Proposal, which was crazy at the time. The notion of, would you allow your wife to sleep with another man for one night for $1 million? We fast forward to the Black Mirror episode. I forget the name of the episode, but the woman Abby, it's the one where everyone is acting as human power plants, riding bikes to charge power for the power station, and they've got this American Idol thing where they end up in, I think they earn 10 million credits or 15 million or something. They get to try this talent program that's a bit like American Idol X Factor. You get Abby, and all the contestants, of course, are given this drink that basically drugs them, takes away their inhibitions, and Abby plans on being a singer, and instead she winds up being a adult entertainment star because she's bullied into it. And then you've got the thing with I forget the main protagonist, but the one whose brother died, who gives her the credit she needs to have that audition. He winds up being this controlled opposition voice. I'm bringing this up because no one should be shocked at the young woman who slept with 100 men in a day to be famous. There are crazy stunts, people doing things on TikTok, people wanting things on YouTube. It's interesting when I've been stimming because I've been nervous. People having a go about how I move backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Yeah, that's stimming. That's autism. That's that's just the condition. That's the nerves. And again, me stumbling over words when I'm stressed out. You have things like people saying, fix your teeth. Why? I was a victim of violent crime. Why do I need to fix my teeth so I present a certain image so that what I have to say is worth listening to? Right now, for example, I'm just on a phone. This was classic YouTube at the beginning. People just hopping on a webcam and going, I want to talk, no production values, no video editors, no Streamlabs, yeah, none of that. It's just a webcam and you upload the video. But yet, now look at where we're at. Everyone's hungry for fame. I remember where my parents used to live. One of the kids, he's now in his 20s. But when he grew up, he wanted to be rich. How many people just saying Gen Z, Gen Alpha, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be rich. I want to be famous. What does that mean? Okay, you're a member of the Kardashians. You're a member of, you're like Paris Hilton. You're like the Kardashians, famous for being famous, or worse, famous because you had to capitalize on, shall we say, a leaked adult entertainment video. This is what passes for meaning in our society. This is the hedonism of our society. We've lost sight of who we are. We are only worth listening to if we happen to make people like us, if we happen to think we've got an it factor that resonates with 3 million people. The problem with that is, you know who else has the it factor? And I'm not saying that everyone on the it factor is evil, but look at the number of dictators throughout history that have been charismatic. You don't overthrow populations unless you're resonating with people. And charisma can be horrible. I mean, one of the most infamous examples, and overused examples, is a guy that sterilized about just under 400,000 people with disabilities like me. The year after he got into power, broke the laws the same year, mass murdered 300,000 of those with disabilities from 1940 after sterilizing thousands of kids with this, starving and exposing to death thousands of kids with disabilities, and then went on to murder millions of Jews. Yet, the lesson we seem to be taking is, I want to be liked. Doesn't matter what I have to do. Doesn't matter what my ethics are, what my morals are. Doesn't matter what the cost of fame is, what the cost of wealth is. The ends justify the means. Now, it's interesting, Tim Pool was talking about how so many people who protest in these quote-unquote fiery but peaceful protests people are going who are nihilists. Well, nothing matters. I don't matter. You don't matter. Funnily enough, so let's burn it all down. Yeah, I'd like to see how much they're saying that. If someone was torturing them, abducting them, brutally beating them, attempting to end them, etc., any number of unspeakable things when they were begging for mercy, suddenly their life would matter. Suddenly they'd have value. But because it's happening to someone else, that's okay, because it doesn't affect them. This is the crisis we currently have in our world. We don't care about each other. Not really. We talk over each other. Those with autism are in crisis because I think we make people uncomfortable, because we buck the conformity trend and we force people to have to say, how are you with each other? How much do you care about each other? When it's not just about, what was it that Elon Musk said when he put it? Looking good while doing evil. Sorry about the shaky cam. Currently under a lot of stress and might be slightly dehydrated at the moment. But that's the truth. People only care about looking good, about fitting in for the most part. It's interesting. You hear these stories of, in the Bible, for example, Yeshua tells the story of not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will be saved. And because it's what do you hear constantly? But I'm a good person. It's like Elon said, I want to look good. I want to look like I'm fitting in. I want my peers to look at me like I'm a good person, like I'm virtuous. And as long as they think I am, as long as what they see is good, doesn't matter how evil I am. That's the mindset. We're a civilization in crisis. We're a species in crisis. It's interesting. What was the quote from Patch Adams? We're the only species besides the ants that wage war on our own species. Yet that's kind of where we're at. Anything to feel morally superior. Anything to feel good about ourselves while we do evil. Yet, it's interesting. The whole concept of an afterlife doesn't trace back to Christianity. Christianity doesn't have sole ownership of that concept. There are numerous places, including secularism, that came up with it. Really, I would call what Aristotle and Plato were coming up with very much in the secular, as opposed to everything else, because the whole idea of classical Stoicism is, or everything else is, that there is equilibrium in the world, so therefore there has to be equilibrium in general. If there has to be equilibrium in general, then the only way they could be balanced when you need to balance the scales is if there's a life beyond this life. That's what our whole justice system is based upon. Yet, it's almost like we've devolved. We've become the rat utopia experiment in its death spiral. And I could go on and on about this, but we need to wake up to ourselves. We need to ask ourselves, who are we as a society? How much do we care about others? How much do we pay attention to others? How much are we prepared to admit, in the case of neurotypicals, to people like me who are neurodiverse, that not everyone has the same brain wiring. Not everyone is going to have the same ways of communicating. And unless you're talking about someone being malicious or pathologically violent, there isn't a right or a wrong to that. Yet that's the society we're in. We've had lectures about woke, and people privilege, etc. And wokeness is hypocrisy, because anything that could look at ableism and say, well, that's just you being a man, you being white, you being straight, you being cisgendered, etc., coming back to bite you in the butt, that's not equality. That's not inclusion. That's not empathy. That's not inclusivity. That's just simply another religion, another cult imposing their values. And the problem is the blowback on that is anything that is perceived to be woke. Anything is just going to get shot back against. And that's unfortunately where we're at, where it's not about decency, it's about the tribe that's ahead. And so I'd question to everyone looking at this, watching this video, what do you want? What kind of society do you want? Do you want a society where people can be as evil and as cruel and as nasty and downright even violent and abusive as they can, as long as they get to look good doing it? Or do you want a society where everyone feels valued at base level? Yeah, this is the question that we really need to ask ourselves, because sooner or later there's going to be a reckoning, whether you believe in the second coming of Christ, whether you believe in karma, whether you believe in whatever. There is going to be a reckoning, and when that comes, you need to decide: is the life you are living now, the world you are building, the society you are building now, is that in line with what you want to have to answer for when you have to give an account of things, be it through reincarnation and karma, be it through judgment before God, whatever you believe that is going to be, is what you're dealing with now, what you want. Until next time, be kind to each other, because all of us deserve it, and all of us deserve the world that comes from it.